Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet these really funky little puff stitch squares. Now, before we begin with puff stitches, having loose tension is what it is all about for getting these nice soft puffs. So whatever yarn you choose to use for this square, go up either half or a full hook size. That will just naturally loosen up your tension. So for these squares on my table, I use double knit yarn, which recommends a 4mm crochet hook. So instead I used a 4.5mm crochet hook. So I went up a half size. That is my top tip, especially if you have tight tension. Go up either half or even a full hook size from what your chosen yarn recommends. To begin, we're going to start with a magic ring. Now, if you absolutely detest using the magic ring, that's fine. You can substitute it out for chaining 5 and then joining with a slip stitch that very first chain that you made. But I prefer a magic ring. So with my magic ring, I'm going to begin by chaining 2. Now we're going to be doing puff stitches, and the first puff stitch of each round is going to be slightly different. So after you have chained 2, we're going to yarn over, go into the ring, and draw up a loop once. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and then one more time, yarn over, go back into that ring and draw up a loop. You will have 5 loops on your hook. For the very first puff of every single row, we're only going to yarn over and draw up a loop twice. Once you have your 5 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through the first 4 loops only and leave 1 loop on your hook. So yarn over and draw through the first 4 loops. Then when you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and draw through those remaining 2 loops. That's your first starter puff. Chain 2. And how we work our puffs for the remainder of each round, once that beginning one is out the way, you're going to yarn over, go into the magic ring and draw up a loop once, and again, twice, then again, 3 times. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 6, leaving 1 loop unworked. Now the trick to pulling your yarn through your puffs is as you catch that working yarn, rotate your hook down slightly, and then it is less likely to catch on all those loops. Then when you have 2 loops remaining, yarn over and draw through those final 2. Chain 2, and we're going to repeat this all the way around until we have 8 puffs in total, including that first one, with chain 2 spaces in between them. So again, go into the magic ring and draw up a loop 3 times. Then when you have your 7 loops on the hook, yarn over, draw through the first 6, and then yarn over and pull through those last 2. Then chain 2. So I've got 3 puffs, I need 8 in total. So I'm going to make 5 more puffs. once you have completed your 8 puff stitches, chain 2 if you haven't already, and then we're going to close this magic ring at the back. So go ahead and pull the tail of that to pull it closed. Then we're going to join into the chain space in between the first 2 puffs that you made. So in there, pop your hook in there, ignore the first puff and go into the chain space after it and join with a slip stitch. So at the end of round 1, you should have 8 puff stitches with 8 chain 2 spaces in between. For round 2, we're going to start with a chain 2 and that beginning puff. So that chain 2 counts as part of the puff. I'm going to yarn over and draw up a loop twice. Now the reason this starter puff has less loops than the rest of them is this chain 2 that you made kind of fattens it out a little bit on the side. So that accounts for the lack of the extra loops like you have on your other puffs. And once you have your 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, draw through the first 4 loops, and then yarn over and draw through those last 2. Chain 1 and work a normal puff back into that same spot, and the normal puff is yarn over and draw up a loop 3 times. Then once you have 7 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 6 loops, and then yarn over and pull through those final 2. That's how we're going to do the puff stitches for the rest of the round. Now chain 3 and work another puff stitch back into that exact same spot where we've been working. Chain 1 and work 1 more puff stitch back into that same place. This forms our corner. Puff, chain 1, puff, chain 3, puff, chain 1, puff. So 4 puff stitches all into the same spot. This is what will keep your square square rather than it turning into a circle. So chain 1 and work 1 puff into the next chain 2 space. That forms your side. Chain 1 and we're going to work another corner into the next chain 2 space. So puff stitch, chain 1, puff stitch back into the same spot, chain 3, puff stitch back into that same spot, chain 1 and puff stitch back into that same place. Then we're back to a side, so chain 1, puff stitch into the next chain 2 space, chain 1, and then we're back to a corner. You're going to work corner, side, all the way around. Your corners consist of puff, chain 1, puff, chain 3, puff, chain 1, puff. Your sides consist of chain 1, puff, chain 1. Once you've finished your final puff stitch of the round, chain 1 if you haven't already, and slip stitch to join into the chain 1 space in between the first 2 puffs of the round. So you should have 4 corners made up of 4 puff stitches with 4 sides with just 1 puff stitch as your side. For round 3, chain 2 and work a beginning puff into that same spot where you just chained from. So that's just yarn over and draw up a loop twice. Then chain 1 and you'll be at your chain 3 corner space. Now into this chain 3 corner space, we're going to work a corner just like we did in the rounds below. So into your corners, we're going to work puff, chain 1, puff, chain 3, puff, chain 1, puff, all into that chain 3 space here. And your puff stitches for the rest of the round will be yarning over and drawing up 3 times. So you'll have 7 loops for your main puffs. It's puff, chain 1, puff, then chain 3, and back into that chain 3 space, puff, chain 1, puff. That is how you'll work your corner into your chain 3 corner spaces for every subsequent round. Then for the sides, we're going to chain 1 and place a puff into the chain 1 space in between the puff stitches from the row below. So right in there, work a puff, chain 1, move across to your next chain 1 space. So your chain 1 spaces in between your puff stitches from the row below is where we work our sides, and the side is just a puff, chain 1. Always chain 1 before and after your corner. So we want chain 1 spaces in between all your puff stitches apart from this chain 3 space in your corners. Every single puff stitch will have a chain 1 separating it from its friend, both before and after. So there's always a chain 1 space. Once you hit your corner, same as over here, puff, chain 1, puff, chain 3, puff, chain 1, puff, all into the same chain 3 spot. Then chain 1 afterwards, and you do your sides, which are puff, chain 1, puff, chain 1, puff, chain 1, into all the chain 1 spaces in between your puffs from the row below. So I'm just finishing up my final little puff here on the side. And to finish your round, chain 1 if you haven't already done so, and slip stitch into the chain 1 space in between the first 2 puffs from the round. So you can see you have your chain 3 spaces in the 4 corners, and you have chain 1 spaces along the sides. Just like you would on a granny square, this builds exactly the same way with corners and sides. You will continue growing your puff square in the same way that we just did this last round. Into every chain 3 corner space, you work a corner, and the corner is puff, chain 1, puff, chain 3, puff, chain 1, puff. The sides are always just going to be 1 puff on their own into the chain 1 spaces, with a chain 1 space after your corner and before. So every single puff will be separated by a chain 1 apart from your corners, which have chain 3. Now your sides on this, on round 2, we just had 1 side, and each side grows by 3 puff stitches each round. So on this 3rd round, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 side puffs in between the corners. If I cover up the corners, 4. So we had 1, 4. So on your next round, you will have 7 side puffs. So for every round, it grows by 3 side puffs each time. And you can keep going until you have nice big puff squares. But a word of warning, the bigger you take them, because of the tension on your puffs, you can see they do start to pull in a little bit. That can be solved with a bit of light blocking. Once these squares are joined, they'll be completely square. But I just wanted to highlight how, especially if you have tight tension, if you take these squares bigger and bigger and bigger, just keep an eye that they aren't pulling in too much. As you can see on this little 3 round one, it's absolutely fine. And if I went on to do another round, it would be absolutely fine as well. But it's just the bigger you go, the more you need to keep an eye on it, just in case it does start to pull in slightly. So to continue your puff squares, simply repeat round 3 again. So you start with a chain 2 and your beginning puff, and that will create your side because you're in a chain 1 space, chain 1, and then into the next chain 1 space, work another side, because anywhere where there is a chain 1 space, you're only ever working a singular puff. And then when you hit your chain 3 corner, create your new corner, which is these 4 puff stitches worked into the same spot. Once your square is the size that you want it to be and you have finished your very final round, you've joined with a slip stitch, simply chain 1, cut your yarn, leaving a nice long tail to weave in, pull that up, through and out, pull that tight, and then your 2 ends, the one from your magic ring and the one here, are ready to be woven in. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you go on to make funky little puff squares of your own. Please do let me know what you think about these squares down in the comments. And until next time, happy crocheting.